Richmond, north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Living in
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes.
In sunshine and rainbows, it isn't
Definitely a thing for just being a solo
The
operator.
change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
So, welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars. Today I have woken up early and I'm sitting in front of my computer in the morning instead of in the afternoon, and I'm talking to Andy Wilson over in the US. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm waking up still. I'm steering clear of the coffee. I've just got the water to drink, but excited for the day. I've got to go do some actual work after I finish talking to you.
We did 7 leaf cleanup jobs today, so we've been
awesome.
busy today.
Yeah, that's going to keep you flat out. I don't know, because we don't do leaf cleanup the way you guys do it in the US, but an average lawn mowing job's probably going to be a lot quicker than a leaf cleanup, right?
Yes, it takes us about 3 times longer to clean up leaves as it does to just mow the yard.
Yeah, I can imagine. We do have the odd leaf cleanup here, but it's very rare, and often, to put it into perspective, I can run over the leaves with a mulch kit in the ride-on mower and does as good a job as I need.
Yeah, we mulch a lot of ours. There are some properties where we blow them out to the street, and the city will pick them up. Or
wow.
we can come back with a leaf loader or a debris loader and suck them up.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Instagram reels of those massive vacuum trucks that you use for sucking them up. That's unreal.
Yes.
So, Andy, a lot of my listeners won't have heard of you. I know some of them have because it was a request from one of my listeners to get you in for an interview. But you are doing your own podcast in the US, and I've been listening to that. I think it's really good.
Well, I would just like to encourage your listeners to tune into the Lawn Hustle podcast. That's my podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I would appreciate a follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if anyone needs anything, you can join our mastermind group on Facebook. It's called the Lawn Hustle Mastermind. Send us a request to join the group. We'll be happy to approve your request. And together we're stronger. Iron sharpens iron.
You've been in business for a few years now?
Almost 17 years.
17 years. So you started before I did then. I started in 2010. So I've broken 15 years. But so you started a couple of years before me.
Yes.
And your history starting your business, now you've had, people will pick up, your voice is a little bit quieter and softer than some, but you've had some interesting health issues. Was that before you started business?
Yes, I was diagnosed with throat cancer, and I was sick for 3 years, never out of the hospital for longer than 3 weeks, for a 3-year period. Had 10 surgeries, 18 months of treatment, half of my larynx removed, but we beat it. And I like to say I never had cancer. Cancer had me. And it didn't know what it ran into when it ran into me, because we fought it. We beat it. We overcame it. And now I started a business with one customer after I started recovering. And prior to that, I was in law enforcement. And it's hard to give loud verbal commands when you can't talk loud. So we started a lawn care business with one client. Very quickly, it began to grow.
Yep.
I began to focus on my route density, trying to keep as many customers in close proximity as possible.
Yeah.
Because the less windshield time I have, the more money I make. The more money I make, the greater my profit margin is at the end of the year. And I don't like to travel a long distance between jobs because I'm not a truck driver. Truck drivers get paid to look out of a windshield, but I don't get paid to look out of a windshield. I get paid to cut grass.
What sort of drive time do you have between jobs on average?
I've got some. I pull up on one street and I'll mow 7 right in a row.
Yeah, that's great.
I can mow all 7 of them in about an hour and 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
So I'm at $65 to drop my tailgate starting out. They go up from there. So these 7, they all fall into that $65 range. So I'm bringing in an hour and 15 minutes, almost $500 into the business. And I'm paying an employee about $17 an hour. So that's a profitable stop.
So how many people do you have working on those properties in one day? You have yourself and one employee with you, or several employees?
I have myself, my full-time guy, and I have 2 part-time guys.
Yeah, okay. So 4 people on the ground when you pull up.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's quite decent. So if you're doing that and then you're moving on from those 7 jobs, do you have a big drive in between those 7 and the next lot?
My next stop is about 4 minutes away. Just up to the road to the stop sign and turn right, and it's right there. So we're right in that area all day long.
That is great. And I have often aimed for and talked to a lot of people that aim for similar route density in Australia, where there's minimal drive time in between jobs and looking at accumulating neighbours so that you do the same thing where you pull up in one street and have several jobs to do. Often it's not as many as 7 in a row, but that's great when you get that many in one street.
Yeah, well, our business grew from 1, and today I'm serving 140 clients a week. So our business has grown. We've been able to scale and take the business to the next level, and we want to scale again and go even more.
Yeah, okay. So your scale at the moment is with 4 people on the ground, 4 people on the tools when you're working. And to grow bigger than that, you'd need to set up your team lead with a separate truck and employees.
Yes, and that is the plan. I want to put another truck in service. I've already bought another truck.
Yeah.
And we got to get it lettered out and logoed and, make it a driving billboard to where everyone that sees that truck knows that's professional lawn maintenance. Look at the job they do. And they can jot my number down and call me for a service contract.
Yeah, and I think that's important when you're scaling, that people understand that your business is presented the way you want it to be presented. So you're not turning up unmarked with no uniforms. You're turning up clearly advertising this is Andy's business.
Right. Well, I think it's important because if they can't jot down your phone number, I've had people chase me down the street and say, I got your number. I'm going to call you tonight because I need an estimate. And if they don't see that number on your truck and you're not wearing uniforms, you're not wearing hats with your name of your business and your phone number on it, you're just out there working and not having an opportunity to create more work for yourself. So I encourage you to, logo your truck, put your phone number on it, put your social media sites on it, and brand yourself. You have to build your brand if you want to be successful.
I want to say a massive thank you to those who have supported me with the New Catch Pro discount code. In appreciation, I'm offering a prize for one lucky Catch Pro customer before the end of the year. If you live in Australia and purchase from Catch Pro with the discount code LawnStars10, in all caps, for those who have already done so and up until the 15th of December, this is a real and significant prize, unlike some booby traps I've heard of recently. It is a Catch Pro product worth over $500, so get cracking with your LawnStars10 code on the Catch Pro online shop, and thank you for your support. Yeah, a couple of differences between the US and Australia that have come up already. Now, you talk about having 140 customers a week. In Australia, there's not a lot of us that actually do weekly cuts. Most of us are on, and you'll laugh at the terminology, we say fortnightly rather than bi-weekly. But I've been a big proponent of saying in Australia we can do weekly cuts, and if you were cutting your own grass, you would do it weekly. So if you're offering that to your customers, you'll find that they do want their lawn to look better by having it cut weekly. But in a lot of Australia, if it's cut fortnightly, you can get away with it and make it still look quite tidy. So people will always go for the cheaper option.
Right.
You offer it to them.
Well, we have eliminated our every other week cuts because, especially during the spring, when I mow one, and if it's 2 weeks before I mow again, by the time I get there, the grass is, almost knee high because the grass grows so fast in the early growth season. And so I eliminated all my every other weeks because it takes me twice as long to mow it. It's harder to mow. It's harder on my equipment to mow it. So we just went to all weekly contracts now, and that's all we do.
Yeah. Now, in Australia, we have a huge variation in weather, and that means in some places there will be, and I think the US is true also. If you go to Florida or some of the more tropical climates in the US, you'll find some people are wanting every other week rather than weekly cuts, and some of the contractors there will offer it. But in Australia, you'll find over the 15 years I've been working, most seasons we will have a dry spell in amongst the growth season. And so it's very common in Australia to get some drought, some places more so than others. In a few of those places, like West Australia, they have to use irrigation, or they call it reticulation. If they don't water the grass, it doesn't grow. It just looks like a desert.
Right.
It pretty much is a desert.
Yeah.
But on the east coast of Australia, we have enough rainfall most of the time that the grass will grow very fast without needing to irrigate at all. And then you just get that dry spell. So we've been through a dry spell at the moment, come out of winter. For us, winter is the opposite time of the year to you. So our winter is finished and we're full into the growth season. But because it's been dry, hasn't been growing.
Yeah, we're at the end of our growing season, and we're fixing to go into our winter season here. So we're starting to think about snow, and I like to say plowing that snow and making that dough.
Yep. Yes, I've listened to a few American podcasts, and they really like coming up with those little catchy phrases.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's great. I think it helps to energize the industry.
Yes, sir.
So, snow ploughing for you. Now, you mentioned to me you are in Indiana.
Yes.
And I thought, Indiana must be warm. It wouldn't get snow. But you said, what did you say, 32 inches?
We get an average of 32 inches of snow a season.
Per season. That is a significant amount of snow.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, there are snowfields in Australia, but I don't know anyone who actually works cutting grass in those areas. It's a fairly select, tiny part of Australia. So I don't know of anybody who actually ploughs snow unless they're a government employee cleaning the roads up around the snowfields.
Yeah. We set a snow trigger for our commercial sites. If we get an inch or more of snow, we automatically go out and service the property. Some of our residentials, if we plow driveways, that snow trigger might be set at 2 or 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
But when you got people walking on snow trying to get in and out of businesses, we set that trigger like at 1 inches so they can walk in and out safely without the fear of them slipping and falling and injuring themselves.
Of course. And I don't live in a snow area myself, so I don't deal with this at all. But I can imagine under the snow, the footpath becomes icy, and that's where you get slippery.
Yes. And if you salt it, then you have to go back like the next night and check all your lots again for refreeze. Because if the salt starts melting the snow, then it refreezes. Then you've got nothing but ice on that. So every event, I might service a property 3 times per event.
Yeah. And your customers are happy to sign a contract so that you do this, or do they pay per service?
Yes, it's under a per service contract where they know if we get an inch or more of snow, they don't have to call me. They know I'm going to show up.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So if you're getting 32 inches during the snow season, that's enough to mean that you're going to be, like just on average, you're going to be pretty busy right through winter.
There's been winters where I have plowed every day for the winter season. And then the last 4 years, like I said, there's been no snow hardly at all. And I've not ran my whole route one time for the last 4 years.
Wow. So I hear some of the guys in the US talking about going out at 11 p.m. and working through till 7 a.m. ploughing snow. Is that something you find you need to do because it comes through overnight more than during the day?
It does come through mostly in the evening hours. And so I have plowed up to almost 35 hours in a row because the snow just kept falling, or if it gets real windy and everything drifts closed again, then you got to go back and hit it all over again.
Did you say Red Bull is a sponsor?
I wish.
Yeah, if you're ploughing 35 hours straight, you're going to need something to keep you awake.
Well, we drink a lot of coffee while we're plowing snow.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, okay, so your business, with your experience, you've put a lot of thought into the amount you need to charge customers to make sure you're profitable. Did you have business background when you were working in law enforcement, or have you learnt a lot of these skills as you've grown your business?
I have learned as I have tried to grow my business.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of background in it, but it didn't take long for me to figure out if I'm only charging this woman $30 to mow her yard, and it takes us 30 minutes to mow it. By the time I get there, pay for the gas to get there, put gas in the equipment, pay a helper, pay myself. You add all that up, and you're not making any money on that property.
Yeah.
And we're in business to make money.
Yeah. Now, that's where I see a lot of businesses fail, because rather than reviewing their margins and going, okay, how much money do I need to make in order to be able to pay employees, pay insurance, be able to pay all those expenses and still make some money for myself, a lot of people will go through a busy season just working flat out and get to the end of it, or even just 1 month in sometimes, and go, I'm not making money, and they'll just shut up shop and go and work for somebody else again.
Right. And that's why I think it's very important for you to pay yourself.
Yes.
Don't wait to the end. Your pay is part of your expenses. So
Exactly.
pay yourself. Pay yourself well. Know your numbers. Know your value. When I charge somebody, I charge them according to my value and their perceived outcome. What do they want out of hiring me? Do they want someone to just mow their grass? Or do they want someone to cut their grass? There's a big difference in mowing and cutting.
Yeah.
So, if they want a premium job, they're going to pay a premium price. I'm not the cheapest guy in town,
Yeah.
but when they hire me, I'm going to give them my very best every single stop.
Now, you're speaking blasphemy when you say pay yourself and pay yourself well. But when we look at this in Australia, one of the phrases we've come up with is the customer will blurt out in the process of asking us how much it is, they'll blurt out, the last guy did it for $30. And so the last guy in Australia has become a bit of a trope. And when you hear the customer say the last guy, that's a red flag.
It's a big red flag.
You can either use that red flag to your advantage, or you can walk away and say, I don't want to deal with them. My opinion is use all of those opportunities to build your business well. So if the customer says the last guy hasn't shown up for 4 weeks, can you take over? The last guy did it for $30, can you do it for $30? That's an opportunity for you to say, well, the last guy's not here, and let's talk about what you actually want. Do you want quality and consistency? And if you want good quality and you want good consistency, this is what it's going to cost you.
Exactly. I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. When a customer compares me to the last guy, I remind them, why did you call me?
Yeah.
Well, the last guy, like you said, he's not showed up for 4 weeks. He's not called. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what he's doing. In Indiana, we like to call them the Chuck in the truck.
Yes.
Or the Dan in the van. They just fly by night. They're not running a legal, legitimate business. They have no business insurance. They are just out there mowing yards. And, when you factor in the cost of your insurance, the cost of your licenses, the cost of, being legit in the industry, you can't afford to cut a yard for $30.
Well, let's talk about that blasphemy you mentioned before, paying yourself and paying yourself well.
Yes.
I've made the mistakes, right? I should not still be here in business. When I started, I didn't do very well initially and I wasn't charging enough. But when I got busy, I put on an employee, and I was paying 15 years ago almost. It was probably 14 years ago when I first put on an employee. I was paying about $20 an hour for wages. And when I paid his wages and then looked at how much money was left over on that job, paid all the expenses and his wages, I was going backwards. I was not actually making any money at all.
Right.
And that was a really hard lesson to learn. And so often, and I made that mistake when I started, but a lot of people will make the same mistake. I can work cheaper and I can undercut the other guy so that I get the job and the other guy doesn't. And we don't want to undercut the last guy because the last guy's already gone.
Right.
So it took me a really hard lesson, a bitter pill to swallow to get to that point where I realised that if I can't pay an employee, then I'm not actually paying myself.
Right. What I done, I timed myself on every job. So I know exactly how long I'm going to be on that job.
Yeah.
I've got one property that takes me 7 minutes to mow it. By the time I back off my trailer till I pull back on my trailer, 7 minutes goes by. And the reason why I done that, I wanted to find out which jobs I needed to raise my price on.
Yeah.
Which jobs was okay for the time being, because I think you need to raise your price at least every other year.
Yeah.
Everything else is going up. Insurance, gas, the price of equipment, business insurance. Everything is going up. So I've got to know where I stand monetarily
Yeah.
to where I know where I need to raise my price, know where I can increase my profit, know where I'm doing okay, know where there needs to be some adjustments so that I can make those changes so I can continue to turn a profit.
I like what you're saying there, Andy, and it really resonates with me because I listen to people like Paul Jameson, people in Australia even that say, put your prices up every year, put your prices up every 6 months or whatever by a margin. And that's okay. It provides your customer with consistent expectation that that's what's happening. But what I have looked at often is going, okay, I will put prices up by review. I will look at whether I'm okay, whether I'm in front, whether I'm behind. And that means I have at times gone to 20% of my customers, 40% of my customers and gone, hey, your prices are below the market value and I'm going to put your price up by that. And usually if you are saying, hey, I'm not doing this to all my customers, but you've had a really good run, I've got to put your price up to match. Then they appreciate it and they go, oh, okay, no problem. Whereas if you're just going every year, hey, I'm putting your price up by 10%, 15% or whatever it might be, they start getting weary of this and going, oh, this guy's just going to keep putting our prices up until we sack him. So we'll just sack him.
Well, I think it's very important, especially if someone's just starting out in business, to learn the value of their work. Learn your numbers, know your numbers to where you know what to charge. You don't want to just pull up to an estimate and just off the cuff say, oh, I think I can get this done in 15 minutes. And that's $35.
Yeah.
You show up and it takes you 40 minutes. That's 15 minutes longer than what you thought. So that's money. Time is money.
Yep.
And if I can turn over jobs quicker, the more money I can make, the more top dollar revenue comes in.
Yeah.
It affects the bottom dollar revenue, which affects my profit margin.
Yeah. Now, I like to reverse engineer the numbers because there's huge variables between your business and my business. And so if you eliminate some of those variables, you can work out where your margins are fairly easily. So in Australia, the average income, so personal income in Australia, is somewhere between $85,000 and $100,000 a year. And the Australian dollar is not worth the same as the American dollar, so that probably works out to somewhere around 60,000 US maybe.
Okay.
But I look at that and I go, okay, if you're starting a business, look at your expenses and see if you can work out what numbers you need to be hitting in order to get an income that's comparable to somebody else. So you've got to calculate all the expenses in your business, and that's going to be hard. So I give people a bit of a hand in that and say, okay, this is what I did when I started my business. This is how I calculated what I thought my expenses would be. And one of the rules that a friend of mine has suggested, and I found this to be a very basic rule that helps, the rule of thirds. If you just go, okay, roughly 1/3 in overheads, 1/3 in wages, and 1/3 for profit. If you work on that basis, that actually eliminates the problem of having creep in the margin. Because if you say, all right, I want to add a margin to the expenses and that's my money, then your margin is slim when you do that. And what happens is when you add your margin, it's actually reduced because your total turnover is including the margin. Whereas if you go, okay, I need total turnover of X and build margin into that, then it becomes a fraction of your total turnover rather than a diminishing return. So that's where the rule of thirds makes sure, your margin is 1/3.
Right.
Doesn't change.
Well, we have guys over here that will, try to play the numbers game with me. Say, I made $300,000 this year. No, that's your top dollar revenue.
Yeah.
What's your bottom dollar? After all of your expenses, after your pay, after your employees' pay, what's your bottom dollar?
Yeah.
And how much is your profit margin? We got guys talking about making $300,000 that doesn't turn a profit. Well, they're not making money then.
Yeah.
Their business is not making money.
Yeah. So that was my mistake at the start. I worked on a half rather than a third, right? So there was no 1/3 for profit. It was just half expenses and half mine. And then when I paid an employee, I realized that half wasn't actually accurate and I was actually walking backwards. So rule of thirds means I've got to pay my fuel and insurance and all those costs. Then I've got to pay myself a wage and still have profit left over.
Right. A lot of businesses are lucky if they have a 10% profit margin.
Yeah.
And most people strive to try to make a 15%.
Yep.
This year, I had almost 30% profit margin
Perfect.
because I watched my numbers. I watched my expenses. I didn't have any major breakdowns this year. Just routine check maintenance on my equipment. And I've learned the hard way. If you maintain your equipment and take care of your equipment, it'll take care of you.
Yeah.
So you make it last longer.
Yep.
Only buy new when it is absolutely necessary and you can pay cash for it.
Yep.
Because if you're going into debt for all of your equipment, that just means you've got to make more money to try to have a profit margin because you have more expenses.
Yeah. And look, I think there is a place for that. If you're quoting a commercial contract that you need to put on 3 new employees for, you're also going to need to buy all of the equipment for those new employees to run. So if you want to scale your business quickly, you'll need to take on some debt to take that contract on. But for the most part, if you're doing a residential run, then that method is not going to work well because the residential run, you're not getting one big contract. You're building, in your case, 140 customers.
Right.
So this is why I like to do the reverse numbers and go, okay, how much do I need to make in order to be doing okay? And in Australia, I suggest for one person on the tool, so not a team of 3 or 4 people, but for one person on the tools, you need to be able to hit somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000 a year coming in total top line. And out of that much money, if you take 120,000, it's a really easy number to split up because you can go 120,000 a year is 10,000 a month, right? Now it's possible in Australia to do double that, but we'll focus on that number because it's really easy. 120,000 a year is 10,000 a month. If I'm aiming for 10,000 a month for each employee that's in the field, I'm going to be okay. If I break that down, that's $2,500 a week, or it's $500 a day on a 5-day week.
Right.
Now, people are doing between $600, $800, and $1,000 a day fairly comfortably in Australia, and some guys are doing $1,500 a day on one person on the tools.
I can make as much money in a day as I made in 2 weeks on the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So
it's a
when you're
different
turning
game.
that kind of money over, if you watch your expenses, you can have a great bottom dollar revenue, not just a great top dollar revenue.
Yeah, but that comes back to that blasphemy you said. You've got to pay yourself. Got to pay yourself
Yes.
well. If you haven't factored in wages, you can't scale. You can't put on employees. You can't get over the fact that you need. And this is okay, right? If you look at some of the franchises in Australia, there's a lot of franchises that do very well. You would have heard of Jim's Mowing. A lot of the franchise models are built on the idea that your expenses don't include your wages. So 40-50% of your total revenue is expenses and the rest is your money because your wage and your profit are all yours, right? So if you work on that model of just going split it down the middle, 50% or less is expenses and 50 to 60% is your money to work with afterwards. That's great, but that doesn't allow for what is actually a wage.
Right.
And so if you put on an employee, and coming back to what you were saying about those profit margins, if you try and scale from you just being on the tools on your own to you having 3 employees, based on that split it down the middle method, you sit there going, okay, by the time I pay employees, I'm either going backwards or I've got around that 10% margin. If you've got 10% margin, awesome. But what do you do when you need to grow and you can no longer supervise all of the employees yourself? You need to have somebody that's doing the maintenance on the equipment. You need to have somebody who's doing the scheduling and the accounting. All of a sudden, you've got to pay 2 extra employees that are not bringing an income in.
Right.
That 10% margin doesn't exist anymore.
That's right. I think you've got to include your pay in your expenses. That way you get a true, accurate number of how much you're actually making in your business versus paying yourself at the end.
Yeah.
Pay yourself every week, pay yourself well, because we want you to do well. We want you to be successful, make as much money as you can, but that needs to come out of your income, so you know a true feeling as to where I'm at. How can I grow? How can I take my business to the next level? If you don't know where you stand, how are you going to know where you can go? It's impossible.
Exactly. Yeah. So that reverse engineering of the numbers I really like, because it allows me to look at your circumstances or my circumstances that are completely different and go, okay, the day rate, the monthly rate, the yearly rate, allow me to look over a business very quickly and go, okay, am I hitting the numbers I need? If you're doing 7 jobs in, how long did you say, an hour and 20?
About an hour and 20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes. 7 jobs in an hour and 20 minutes. I do 1 job all day.
Yeah.
So we can ignore how many jobs you're doing and go, okay, what's the day rate? And that gives me a really good balance and go, okay, if you're doing 7 jobs in an hour and 20 minutes, your margin on each job needs to allow for the fact that you've got 4 people running around and that you have drive time, windshield time in between jobs. And that's tricky when you've got 7 jobs in one location and then you might have a 4-minute drive to the next location. If I've got 1 job for the whole day in one location, I can eliminate some of those unbillable hours, but the day rate should still be a good reflection of whether we are both profitable.
Right. Yeah, those kind of stops bring in a lot of revenue, and there's not a lot of expense because I'm not traveling.
Yeah.
I pull up about halfway between all 7 of them. We unload, and 2 guys will take off with trimmers and start trimming, and I'll start mowing, or another guy will start mowing. And by the time he gets to the other property, it's already trimmed. And then a guy at the end will come back and just start blowing everything off. The sidewalks, the driveway, the decks, the patio, and the street. I don't leave nothing on the street.
Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money, season after season.
I've heard a lot of debate about what the ideal number of people in a crew is, and the ideal number is 1. But if you go, all right, Is two more efficient than one? Often people will say no, two is less efficient because somebody's going to be standing around waiting for the other person to finish. In your case, you've gone 2, 3, 4 people in one crew. And that's working really well, like you just described. But some people are going to look at that and go, oh, you know what, it's not efficient in my business model because I've got these type of customers. And I say, in my case, one job all day, it doesn't matter how many people are in the crew because I can give each person a tool and say, go and do it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
when
one
we
location.
when we pull up, every crew member knows what his obligation is for that stop. I got a trim guy or 2 trim guys. I got a blow guy. I've got maybe 2 mowers running.
Yep.
So everyone has a job to do. And it's amazing how close it is to us all finishing up at the same time. When my trimmer
awesome.
guy is putting the trimmer back in the rack, I'm usually pulling up on the trailer. That's how close it is.
That's great. That gives you a business model that works really well. I've talked to some guys in Australia that will travel 1 to 2 hours before they start their first job and pay between $40 and $90 in tolls for the roads to get there.
Wow. So
Now,
what do they charge for that job?
that is a great question, and I don't remember. So I would be making it up if I told you. But if they travel 1 to 2 hours before they start their first job, if they're working off a day rate, they can just go, okay, as long as I factor in how many employees are working and how much money they need to make for the whole day, then you can break that down and go, well, if we lose 2 hours or 4 hours in the day for travel, still got to pay the employees for that travel time.
Right.
Then,
and if you got 3 guys and you're paying them right at $20 an hour, you've got, 20 times 4, that's $80 times 3. That's a lot of money.
I'll
just
scare
for
you for a
windshield
minute,
time.
Andy. I'll scare you on that one. The $20 an hour is what I was paying 15 years ago. The average rate now is between $30 and $45 an hour for employees in Australia.
Oh, wow. That's a lot more than here.
So for a new employee, it'll be a little bit over $30 an hour if they're casual. If they're a permanent employee, then it's a different rate. But on average, I'm paying somewhere between $30 and $35 an hour, and I know others go up around the $45 an hour for some of their employees.
Well, that's a lot more per hour than what we pay here.
Yes. So if you take your lead employee that could run the other truck without you and be the supervisor, then rather than being supervised in Australia, you're going to be probably up over $40 an hour for that person, and often around $45.
Wow. That's just... The job rate has to be a lot higher over there than here, too.
Yes, it is. Definitely is. But yeah, that's pretty scary. And that's why one of the reasons why when people start a business in Australia, they're very scared of employing people because it costs a lot. And if you're factoring in, like I said before, the 1/3 rule for paying wages as one of the thirds and actually making a 30-ish% profit margin, it shouldn't scare you.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you just factor that in.
Especially if you want, you want to grow. You want more out of your business than just getting by.
Yeah.
Jump in. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of people in Australia don't have a succession plan in lawn care and gardening industry. Horticulture is a common word we use for people who are getting any qualifications. But, in our industry, there's a lot of people who don't have a succession plan, a way of going, I can get off the tools completely and the business will still operate.
Well, that's why I want to give personally. I'm getting older. I turned 60 this year.
Yep.
So the older I get, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
So I want to grow my business to the point where I'm working on my business and not in my business.
Yeah.
where I'm sending crews out, where I'm selling jobs. I'm going about giving estimates. I'm promoting professional lawn maintenance. I'm doing everything I can for my business. I'm just not out there on the equipment working in the business.
Yep. Yeah, that's it's really worthwhile. And I think, you mentioning that you're 60 years of age, I'm 48, and I feel that as it is. You can see my neck's slightly twisted to one side. I just can't hold it straight.
Well, I got a torn rotator cuff in two places on the same shoulder, and a ligament in that shoulder torn in half that I'm going to have surgery on this winter sometime. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Lengthy recovery from that sort of surgery.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, but it's given me so much pain. I'm to the point now where I got to get it done.
Yeah, of course. And getting it done gives you the opportunity to keep on being able to do something. But that succession plan of going, okay, if I can get the crews operating, multiple trucks out there operating without me being on the tools, then I don't need to be the one in there directing the team or running the mower.
Well, and that goes back to training your employees to do the job as if you've done it by yourself.
Yes.
To where you don't have to worry about it. I've sent my crew out, and I never get a phone call from my customers.
Yep.
Because they show up, and what I like to say, they show out. They do the job, and when they leave, that property is the best looking property on the block.
Yep. And that's what you want.
Yep. I don't want to have to micromanage. I don't want to have to worry, did he remember to shut that gate because they have a dog? And when they come home, they let the dog out the sliding door in the dining room. They might not know the gate's open, and if the dog gets out, I'm going to have an upset customer. I don't have to worry about that. They do the walk around. They make sure everything's done. If there's an empty trash can out by the street, they'll pull the trash can up to the garage door. That's not our job. We don't get paid for it. But it's the little things like that sets you apart from your competitors.
Yeah, that's it. One of the topics that I focus on very heavily in my podcast is looking at the systems that people put in place to make sure that happens. And so the systems cover everything from picking the type of tools that you purchase to how you train your employees and making sure that your employees have a checklist to go, okay, have we done everything? But they also include things like your accounting system, your scheduling software, all the different aspects of running a business. So as you grow, then you put on somebody else who can manage your scheduling. And if it's systematized and simplified, like Mike Andy says, then it's very straightforward for you to slot somebody into that position.
Right.
And they take over.
Right. You want to grow your business and train your employees where your business can continue without you. If something happens, like when I have my surgery, I don't have to worry whether or not they're going to do the job. They're going to plow the snow. They're going to clean off all the sidewalks. They're going to salt everything that needs salted. They're going to do everything as if I was there. That's when you train your employees and you invest in your employees and they buy into your vision, they will do the job just like you were there, even if you're not there.
Yeah, that's it. And that means that you can close your eyes and know that all the wheels are still spinning.
Right. Exactly. And that's important. You've got to get your business to that point. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to run a business and you have no systems, no procedures, you have nothing set in place to help your business run efficiently, and you're just stabbing in the dark, hoping that you get everything done. But when you set your systems in place, you set your procedures in place, you have your standard operating procedures, and you train your employees so they know exactly what you expect out of them as an employee and what they can expect from you as the business owner, that is when your business begins to really operate and run efficiently, and you can get more jobs done and bring in more money.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I think that's my primary focus in my podcast, is looking at somebody's business and going, okay, what is it that your business does well? Let's look at the systems that are in place. And sometimes the systems are not well executed, well thought through systems. They're things that are just, the person just does because that's what they get up and they do in the morning. And it's like, okay, that's great. Let's look at what they do, and does that work well for them? But then we get to people who have scaled their business, and it's like, okay, every aspect of their business has been systematized.
Right. You know, when I started growing mine, when I got to the point where I sent somebody out to do jobs, they didn't know it, but I was about 5 minutes behind them that whole first day, following up, walking the properties, making sure they trimmed down that chain link fence, making sure that they shut the gate like I talked about earlier, making sure they edged the sidewalk and they edged the driveway, making sure that they, check the mulch beds to make sure there's not a bunch of weeds growing. And if there's weeds, it takes 5 minutes to stop and pull some weeds out of a mulch bed. Just do it. Because it's those little things that set you apart, that makes you who you are, and your employees and your clients come to expect that from you, because you're building your reputation. People will buy into your business after they buy into your reputation. That word of mouth, it can make or break you. Back when I had one customer, it was word of mouth. A little old lady at the post office read my back of my T-shirt that said professional lawn maintenance and my phone number with my logo. That's all it says. She tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "Do you mow for anybody?" I said, "As long as they paid me." And she said, "Well, would you give me an estimate?" So I went and gave her an estimate. I got her job. I mowed her yard till the day she died. Her family was selling stuff the day after the funeral. So the house was up for sale and it was sold quick. But I got her job. I got her neighbor's job. The neighbor on the other side of her. I got the yard directly across the street from her, and the property in the alley behind her. All from that one little precious elderly lady that tapped me on the shoulder because she saw my shirt.
That's awesome.
It began to grow.
After inviting Sortscape in to share how their software can help your business, we created a link for you to be able to support Aussie Lawn Stars when you join. Sortscape will save you time and effort with scheduling, quoting and reporting so you can build a more efficient business. Visit sortscape.com/lawnstars now to join, and thank you for your support. One of the things that I think is worth bringing up in that situation is that in Australia, and I would say America is similar in this regard, we form the opinion that word of mouth is the best form of marketing. And the way the human brain works is the little old lady taps you on the shoulder and asks you, "Do you mow anybody's yard?" That confirms word of mouth at 100% success rate. Right? 100% of people that come and tap me on the shoulder, or they see my phone number on my trailer, they call me, 100% of them, success rate. What we need to look at is the fact that on top of word of mouth, there are a bunch of touch points that help to make marketing more valuable. And so if you look at the alternative, which is Google ads or Facebook ads or a letterbox drop. And I think you guys do door hangers, whereas in Australia, we're not allowed to do door hangers. I think even in some of your HOAs, you're not allowed to do door hangers.
Right. Yeah.
But those forms of marketing on their own, I've heard as high as a 3% return, but the real numbers on cold marketing, where you're just dropping flyers or you're doing Facebook and Google ads, is 0.5% that will actually inquire. So that tap on the shoulder, 0.5% of all of the leads that you put out there. And even then, the tap on the shoulder is a maybe, it's not a given. But if you have multiple touch points, so you do the flyers on the street where you've already got 7 jobs, or in the neighbourhood where you've already got most of your route, then they see your trailer as well as the flyer. If you can do the same with Google ads and Facebook ads, you can target that neighbourhood, and then they see that 0.5% from the flyer or the Google ad get multiplied as they see that ad more than once. They see your trailer, your vehicle in their neighbourhood. They see the quality of work that you've done, and there's these compounding effects that come in, and all of a sudden those extra... And in Australia, I would say if you spend around $800 a month on advertising marketing like that, then your business is going to grow fairly rapidly with those factors taken into account.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Google Ads is one of the most important things you can do. Have good Google page. Google My Business. When people Google My Business, I come up, I think I'm right now number 2. So that means they get to me quicker when they're going down the list. Because when someone wants a mulch job and they Google lawn care near me, they're going to start at the top, because there's usually a reason why that guy's number 1 or number 2.
So the Google My Business listing is a free thing that you can do. You go in and punch in your business details with your location, and that means that when people are searching your location for lawn care, it's there.
I got 68 phone calls last month from my Google business page. 68 phone calls.
Yep.
That's a lot for a month.
Your business will be growing.
Yeah. We are already scheduling mulch jobs for spring. People's already calling and saying, I want you to put us on your schedule for mulch install or river rock install. I've got a waiting list to get on my mowing schedule. I got like 25 people that want on my mowing schedule. As soon as we can put another crew together to where we can do the job. So
that's great, because that's a open door for you to scale and grow your business, add another truck. That's enough business to justify it.
Yes. Yeah, it does. It does justify it.
Yeah. So, I think people will often shy away from that aggressive marketing and just go, well, word of mouth gives me 100% success rate, so that's all I'm going to worry about.
Well, I would disagree with them on that. I think you got to do several different methods of advertisement if you really want to have sustainable growth.
Yeah.
You don't want to just focus on, well, I'm dependent on this customer to recommend their grandma at Thanksgiving dinner. What if they don't bring it up? You can't just depend on that word of mouth, even though the success rate is greater. You got to try other things. I do a method of 5 door hangers. It's called the five method. The 3 houses right across the street where I mow, I'll hang a door hanger on their door. And then the 2 neighbors next door, I'll put a door hanger on their door. And I'll do that, especially if it's an area where I want to work.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people not only do you want to advertise, you want to learn who your ideal client is.
Yep.
You know, who do I want to work for? What's their demographics? And then once you figure out who your ideal customer is, then you want to know, where are they?
Yeah.
You know, on social platforms, where are they?
Yep.
Are they on Facebook? Then I might need to do a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
If they're on TikTok, maybe do a TikTok ad or Instagram.
Yep.
So you got to know where it is you want to work, what neighborhood you want to work in, who you want to work for, who is my ideal client. And then learn where they're at, and then you can target them with advertisement.
Yes. Yeah, and I think in the time I've been in business, and you would have probably seen this, but America's different to Australia, so it'd be interesting to hear. When I started in 2010, there was predominant market was elderly people who physically could not cut their grass anymore. So, Andy, you would have been my customer. You'd have been like, oh, my rotator cuff is stopping me from doing the edges. Can you mow my lawn for me?
Right.
And that was a majority of the customers. And then fairly shortly after I started, more and more young, upwardly mobile couples were going, we're buying our first house and we're both working. Can you come and cut our grass?
Right. We call them one-time services. We call that individual. They are a customer. If it's recurring work, where I'm going back every week to mow their yard, or every year I'm doing their mulch or trimming their bushes, I'm doing something for them every week, then that person is not a customer, they're a client.
Right.
That customer is just like a one-time. Someone calls me for a river rock install, or to build them a bubbling rock, a water feature. I'm only doing that one job. They're a customer. But when I'm mowing Mrs. Smith's yard every week, every year she has me freshen up her mulch, or, you know, someone hires me to make sure that weeds aren't growing in their flower beds, and I spray the beds, or I put preen in the bed every spring, and I'm doing it over and over and over again, then that person is more than just a customer. There's nothing wrong with the customers. We all need them, but they're a client. And then you treat that client, every client and every customer, as if they're your most important client.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to treat anyone any different. I want to treat everyone the same. When I was in law enforcement, I was firm, fair, and consistent. I gave everyone 10 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah.
But everyone I stopped got a ticket. I didn't have to question.
10 miles over the speed limit's a lot. In Australia, if we get about 5 kilometres, or I say about 5% over the speed limit. So if we do kilometres an hour rather than miles per hour, but if you're at 60 kilometre an hour speed limit, if you're at 66 kilometres, you might get pulled up.
Yeah.
But if you're at 70 kilometres an hour, you're fair game.
Yeah.
Right. If you
I like to say I was firm, fair, and consistent. And I've taken that into my lawn care business.
Yeah.
I'm firm on my prices. I know what I'm worth.
Yep.
I'm consistent. You don't have to worry about me showing up. If your day is on a Wednesday, I'll be there on Wednesday. Unless it's pouring rain, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So I'm firm, fair, and consistent.
I encourage my listeners to be a little bit prejudiced. And what I mean by that is I suggest they give each customer 3 choices they can make. So new quote, do you want to be my worst customer? Do you want to be my best customer? Do you want to be my most expensive customer? And I would not say to tell the customers that in those words, no. But in Australia, the worst customer that is still a great customer is I'm going to turn up and cut their grass 20 times a year. Okay. if I do 20 cuts a year at $100, and that it's not unreasonable to do a $100 cut. There's probably the average in Australia is $80 per cut. But if I do 20 cuts per year at $100, that's $2,000 a year customer client because it's regular, right? If they're a great customer, then they need extra services, right? Like you were talking about all the extra things your guys will do, pulling weeds when they need it, we do weed treatment where we'll do a broadleaf application spray or an army grub treatment if you've got grubs in the lawn, and fertilizer treatments. So that's an upsell where you go, okay, that client is no longer my worst, still good, but they're no longer my worst. They want to be my best client. They want their lawn to look better than their neighbours. But it's still fairly efficient for me to turn up there and leave again. The most painful client that I want is one that says, I want you here as much as possible. Don't ask me how much it is. Just do the work, whatever it needs doing. Do the top soil spreading, do the aeration, do absolutely everything to make sure my lawn and my garden always looks the best.
Right.
So I suggest people quote 3 quotes to each new customer, convert them to a client based on a plan or a package, as we'll put it in that sense of going, okay, we can do the bare minimum, 20 cuts a year. If you're not happy with 20 cuts a year, I'm not the right person for you.
Right.
So yeah, that framing I think helps get customers over the line to be clients, because you're not just offering them 3 quotes, you're also telling them which one you want them to sign up for.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. And so say for instance, if we look at residential clients in Australia, the average client in Australia is going to be around that $1,600 a year mark. And that means I want the clients that are going to be more up around the $2,500 to $4,000 a year mark. And some of the people I've interviewed recently were saying their average client is around $6,000 a year. So there's horses for courses. I do large-scale commercial work. Like I said, I'm in one place all day. So I tell people I'm not signing up a client for less than $50,000 a year.
Right. I've got one customer that is a $400 visit every time I stop.
Yep. That's awesome.
So, and then we average out about 28 mows a year is what I normally charge. I've got some customers that want to pay everything up front.
Yep.
So I'll bill them for 28. If I only mow 26, then next year I owe them 2 yards or 2 cuts. So I'm thinking about changing the way I do my billing system. I'm thinking about going to yearly, to where I figure out what it's going to cost them, divide that number by 12, and that's what I charge them every month at the first of the month.
Yeah.
So that gives me revenue through the winter months if we don't get a bunch of snow.
Yeah. That is great. And I think that clients will appreciate having a consistent bill every month. What I find in Australia is that most people in business, in our industry at least, are scared that if they put it into that perspective, the client won't want to do that. And so they stick with pay per service. Once the service is completed, please pay me as quickly as possible. And that's not a contract, because you can turn up and mow and the client doesn't pay you and ghosts you, and you never hear from them again. So that customer is worth 0 in your books, because until you've mowed and they've paid, what is it worth? In the US, a lot of contractors I hear in the US are saying, all right, I'm going to put you on a monthly plan like you're talking about. You pay at the beginning of the month, and if there's extra left over at the end of the month, that can roll over into your next month, sort of thing, rather than, but most of the time it's not extra. It's just, okay, you're paying every month. That's the amount you're paying each month, and keep on going.
Right. Because if I miss a week because of rain, Like if someone's scheduled on Wednesday and I miss Wednesday because it's pouring rain, I'll usually have them caught up by Friday. So
Yeah.
they're still getting service that week. It's just on a different day.
Yeah.
So that works out pretty good for us.
Yeah. And getting clients over the line on a contract so that they go, okay, I've agreed to you doing this and my payment plan is automatic or per month. In Australia, we really shy away from that, and we really go, if I dare to suggest that they pay me like they pay their Netflix bill, they won't want to do it.
Right. And, I'd say when you give someone a price, that's your price. Stick to it. They don't go to the grocery store and fill up a shopping cart. And when they get up there and the cashier rings it up and their grocery bill comes to $300, they don't stand there and argue with the cashier. Well, that's too much. I'm only going to pay you $220.
Yeah. You might find somebody
the
trying.
price. Yeah. Good luck. The price is the price. So stick to it. And if they want to find someone cheaper, let them move on to the check in the truck. Chances are they're going to call you back anyways.
Yeah, and look, that's a really good topic. I'm mindful of your time. We're a bit over an hour at the moment. I don't want to take all of your evening. But yeah, that topic comes up time and time again. And a lot of people that I've spoken to said, once there's a red flag like that, not interested, they're never going to be my client because they've gone to chase Chuck in the truck. And my opinion is there's always an opportunity. You just need to make sure you're not underselling yourself. If you're already underselling yourself, any red flag, you walk away because you're already running backwards.
Right.
But if you're confident that you can make money and you know what it takes to make money and have a profit that is a decent amount, not a diminishing margin, then when that person calls back, it's like, well, my price is my price.
I get leery of people who, when I show up to give an estimate, the first thing out of their mouth is, how much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
That means to me, all I care about is the cost. I don't care what kind of job you do. I just want to know the cost.
Yep.
Those kind of people, run from them because they're going to nitpick you. They're going to be your complainers. They're going to be the ones that call you and drive you absolutely crazy because all they want is to know how much is it going to cost me.
Yeah.
And then they're going to just absolutely get on your nerves. I run from those clients because
this
I
is
want
where
them
I
to
would
know I'm not charging you because of, I'm not charging you $50 or $60 just because I'm throwing that number out there. I'm charging that because I figured out that's what it takes to do your property.
This is where I like my my quoting system, because I would have no hesitance in throwing back to that person, do you want to be my worst customer? This is my bottom line.
Right. That's good.
Or do you want to be my best
that.
customer? Because this is where I want you.
Yeah. You know what, too? I don't do the job because they're my cheapest customer or he's my most expensive customer, so I'm going to do a better job on his. I try to do the same quality on every stop. That way I can justify what I charge because you're getting a premium service. You're going to pay a premium price.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my differentiation is not lower quality, it's just the additional services. So if you want 20 cuts a year, it's still going to look premium. But if you want to make sure we address all of those issues that we know come up with lawn care, grub treatment, fertilizer, weed treatment, they're all additional services, and that becomes a lawn care package, not just a baseline cut and run.
Yeah, and that woman or man who All they want to know is how much it's going to cost. They're the type of client or customer that will expect a bunch of other services that are normally additional services.
Yeah.
You know, they'll complain that there's weeds in their yard. Well, you don't pay me to fertilize your yard, or you don't pay me for weed control. You're paying me to mow your property. If you want that, I can do that, but it's going to cost you another $50 or $60 every time I service your property as far as lawn treatments. That stuff's not included in the mowing price. So everything, there is a different price for every service that you do.
So in my world, that you're a $1,600 customer. Do you want to be a $4,000 customer? I want you to be.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah. Easy. But certainly those are red flags. And if you offer them something that is the bare minimum, they might take it up. But do you want them to be the worst possible customer? Because chances are their yard will still look good, but like you say, they will then turn around and try and twist your arm to get extras for nothing.
Right.
So that's where I think giving them the option of going, well, you can be a $4,000 a year customer and I'll be happy, you'll be great.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Yeah. Andy, we've covered a lot and really good business topics, and I really appreciate your time. Is there anything we've missed that we should cover as we wrap up?
Well, I would just like to encourage your listeners to tune in to the Lawn Hustle podcast. That's my podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I would appreciate a follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if anyone needs anything, you can join our mastermind group on Facebook. It's called the Lawn Hustle Mastermind. Send us a request to join the group. We'll be happy to approve your request. And together we're stronger. Iron sharpens iron.
Well, I know I've already got listeners that love you, Andy, and certainly would recommend the same thing. If they are listening to this, they look you up, Lawn Hustle.
I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot to me.
No problem. Thanks for joining me. It's been great.
Well, thank you for having me. And I would like to get you as a guest on my podcast sometime soon.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.